Oh, look, it's some Steel Panther. No, don't do that.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Digital to Dice podcast. I'm Dave.
I'm Ron.
And what are we on? Episode 62?
This is the generic NFL lineman episode. If you ever played in the NFL as a generic lineman, it's your uniform number, and this one's for you.
Nice. Number 62, as you record this in early November of 2020.
20-some-odd years ago, it would have been the target for Mark McGuire. 62.
Yeah, it might have been. It might have been. So, anyway, a lot to talk about today. But we're going to have a happy show today. Ron, we're going to do something happy today. Ron's smiling on the camera. You can't see it. Ron, this is audio. You got to kind of give some kind of audio cue.
Every time that we do the open, I'll sit there and give the camera a look and realize it's audio. No one can see me, but yes, you're right.
So we're going to talk about some of the things that we really enjoy in our games. So it's going to be a very positive show. We're going to talk about, I got a list of my favorite things that I look for in the games. We're not going to necessarily mention the games today, but we're going to talk about when we play games, what are some things we really enjoy? We're trying to uplift the mood around here in the world and talk about happy things we enjoy. Stay away from the negativity for a show. And so we invite you to leave your comments here. And what things do you enjoy in games? What do you look for? What are some of the things that you really like? We don't need to know the name of the game per se, but just what do you enjoy? And we'll compare that to the list that we have today to see how they compare and contrast in the whole bit. Mm-hmm. But first things first, should we get to what we're playing?
Absolutely. I'd like to congratulate Aunt Becky for winning the Sing Sing Bingo tournament this week. Aunt Becky, that one's for you, and you get a free pineapple pizza.
Nice. I actually did a quick video on the Apple Watch that I got put up on my YouTube channel, showing some of the things that I use, like the heart rate monitor and a few other things like that. Unfortunately, that was so hard to do. My wrist was killing me from trying to turn the watch to the camera so you could see it, and then I had to manually focus it. And when I went to the iPhone to show it, was a lot of focus, but it took me so long just to get that video. You ever do a video and you're like, it's not what I want it to be, but that's close enough. I'm just not going to do it again.
I've done videos where I didn't have any sound.
Oh, see that? I've done so many videos over because I'm a perfectionist. This time I let it ride. It was like 10 or 15 seconds. I had the iPhone. You couldn't really see it. It was blurry. I was like, oh, the heck with it. I'm going to let it ride. So
is it something that's got to be on your wrist to work or no?
The watch?
Does it need to be in your wrist to work? Not that I would buy one, but how much kinetic energy, does... Because you can't. That I'm not sure.
I think you can hold it in your hands and do things with it. So I think as long as you're tapping it, you should be all right.
How does it keep it charged? You got to plug it in at night, or
Okay. Yep. It just connects at night. It's kind of weird. It's like a magnetic thing that just clicks onto the back. There's no plugging in. It's one of those newfangled things, and I just leave it on the desk stand overnight and it charges. But so
some of us have done that with wheelchairs for years. Not the magnet, but plug it in.
Yeah. So. Now what I did that was kind of neat is check this out. Siri, give me a random number from 0 to 59.
I found this on the web.
It screwed up. Of course.
There you go.
But last night I got it to work. Let me try it again.
Did Siri go through information?
Give me a random number between 0 and 59.
It's 11.
Okay, that worked that time. So when I was doing the hockey games last night, I had the minutes, but I didn't have the seconds.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I used it for. So that just said. So it said 11. So now the goal was scored at at 5:11.
5:11. I don't dare ask Ben the speaker that because she talks enough as it is.
Yeah, she'll go off. Yeah, I don't know why it didn't work that first time. Maybe because you were talking to her, bleeding through or whatever. But no, I'm just saying it's very fussy. It's very fussy. Yeah. But yeah, so I found a whole bunch of uses for this thing. I'm starting to use Siri a lot more, and that came in handy last night when I was doing the box score for the game. I was like, okay, it was scored at the 8-minute mark, between 8 and 9 or whatever it is. give me a random time just so I can put something down.
Nice, I like that.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. So I did a little video on that. I got a little Magic 8 Ball on my watch too. It's kind of neat.
That's cool.
Yeah, and you can put in your custom things too. So I could type in some really crazy things and ask
how the bleep should I know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
so anyway, so I was using this watch last night. Well,
is your watch able to swear?
I don't know.
Because if I ask Madam Speaker to say something with a naughty word, I don't need you to test that out right now while we're recording. She'll bleep it.
Oh, really? Yeah, I'm not sure.
The CeeLo Green song, you know the one I'm talking about. Forget You, I believe, is the clean name for it, or Fornicate You.
Okay.
And so if you ask her to play it, she'll go beep.
Oh, wow.
She will not, she's a good girl.
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure. I haven't really.
She's crazy about her mom, loves Jesus and her boyfriend too, so.
Okay, I'll take your word for that. Now so this came in handy for playing Hockey Blast last night. Is I fired up.
Good segue, Gardner.
Yeah, I fired up some Hockey Blast last night on the table, and I played the 1974-75 season. I played the Rangers at the Seals, and the Seals hung on for a 4-3 win.
Did they win? It was 2-1 the last time I saw as I was going to bed, which is
it was 2-0 Seals after one, which was crazy. Rangers, I think they got tied it at 2-2. Seals went up 4-2. Rangers made it 4-3, and then on the last roll of the game, in the final minute of play, John Rattel had a chance to tie it up, and he could roll anything on the black dice because how Hockey Blast works is you have to be under your scoring chance rating, so it's 1 to 6. So obviously, the higher the number, the better. So he had a 6. So anything I rolled on the black die, was a goal. It didn't matter because I had the full 6. Milosh had a 2 save rating. So if I roll 3, 4, 5, or 6, it's a goal. A 1 or 2 is a save because you have to. Mm-hmm. So if you follow, you have to be under your scoring rating and or equal.
Right.
But for the goal, you have to beat it. So I think I rolled a 6, which it didn't matter. It was an automatic anyway, and I rolled a 2. Milosh made the save at the buzzer to save the game for the Seals. That was a fun one.
2 points for the Seals.
Yep. And then I played your Islanders taking on the Atlanta Flames.
Yep.
And the Flames hung on for that win. I think that was either 4-3 or 5-4. Another close game.
74-75 or 75-76?
74-75.
See, that was the year before they had Potvin. That was Denny Potvin's rookie year.
Potvin and Gillies, yeah.
Oh, Gillies was there, but there's no Trottier yet. So
yeah, and you know what was weird is they had Resch in net. Glenn Resch was the goalie, and he had 4 stars on his save. So it means every time I rolled for a goal, no matter what the shooter rating was, I needed a 5 or a 6 to get a goal on a straight shot. And I'm surprised that I got 3 or 4 by him. I think
solid defensive teams, but they needed Trottier to sit there and create offense. And of course, when they got Mike Bossy in 77-78, that just took them into a whole other planet.
Yeah.
Al Arbor was notorious for trying to make them play as hard as they could in the regular season. And so those first few years, they were just exhausted by the time the playoffs came. And so when Arbor realized, April and May are more important than December, they started to win.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, that was a fun game. It was just a one-off. I think Eric Vale had a couple of goals.
That was our last show.
And Kurt Bennett had a couple of goals. So, yeah, so it was a fun time playing a couple of games of Hockey Blast last night. On the PC, playing more Strat PC hockey. My 90-91 season is the Boston Bruins. I think I'm in second place behind Montreal, but they get 2 more games played than me. So
for that area, you just want to make sure you have home ice for the first round.
Yeah,
so.
Edmonton is playing so bad right now; it's unbelievable. Edmonton in last place,
coming off the
cup. Yep. They were. I think they said they were a 500 team when I looked them up, and they're like 1-5-2 or something like. They're not doing well.
If they're a weak defensive team, and I don't know what the case is for this Edmonton team, the engine and Strat really amplifies that. And now my dead 81-82 replay because the cards weren't right. Edmonton couldn't stop a freight train.
Oh, wow.
And that was the problem. They could score, but they weren't going to be able to score enough. And the reason why I stopped was because there was, like, Edmonton's division, there were 2 teams with goalies cards that were borked. So you couldn't It just wasn't going to be fair. But that was the thing. They couldn't. Gretzky's face-off rating was a 0, and so he couldn't. And really couldn't win face-offs. And Blow was good defensively. Coffey's not a good defenseman. He's essentially a fourth forward.
Yeah,
and you just couldn't stop anybody. You could score, but you couldn't stop.
So, yeah, they're not doing well in that replay there. I played a game against the Sabres in Buffalo, and it's a 5-minute overtime back then. I scored on the last card flip on a breakaway.
Isn't that exciting?
It was last card. It was 5 seconds left on the clock. It either goes in because if the goalie saves it, then it goes to the defense, the game's over. And I scored. I couldn't believe it. I put a screenshot on Digital to Dice. It's like, wow, this is the latest I've ever scored a game-winning goal. 5 seconds left in overtime.
There's a new highlight video on YouTube. One of the great people who do the hockey highlights videos this week posted short-handed goals in overtime.
Oh, wow.
So I was watching some of that, and one of them was the infamous 86 series between Edmonton and Calgary. I think Edmonton won on Curry stole it and gave it to Gretzky, or one of the two, and beat him. Obviously, it wasn't Game 7.
Yeah.
But, yeah, shorties in overtime.
Oh, that would be fun to watch. That would be fun. What else did I play? Oh, more of the Action PC Basketball 2020.
Had we talked about the basketball game? I don't think so. I think the game came out after we
it did just come out. Boy, that was fun. The animations.
Talk about that when I get to what I play, yeah.
Yeah, no, that has been fun. So I fired up the, I think it was the 84-85 Celtics, I think it was. And I'm just going to play that kind of on the side, maybe a stream a game here or there. But I got the speed of the game good, the animation's good. I think I could do a game in 45 minutes to an hour with minimal talking or whatever. Because I think I did a half in like 23 minutes. So
that's not bad.
Yeah, no, but that's at a pretty good clip. That's not really thinking a lot of strategy. It's just kind of playing and enjoying it. But yeah, boy, that's night and day with that one in the last year. And then I tried to play some Strat PC basketball, and my computer's having a problem with that.
It's burping.
Yeah, and this come out of nowhere because I've never had a problem with this. And now all of a sudden my animations are fantastic for the first 5 or 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden my animations slow down, and then even the free throw, there's no guy on the free throw line, and the ball just goes so slow into the net on every shot. It's like, what happened?
That's a memory leak somewhere.
It's just unbelievable that it's like I wanted to go back and give this another try, and it's like, man, I can't sit through this. It's painful to watch how everything goes so slow, and half the fun of that game is watching the animations. And so I had to put that away. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that. That is just not working anymore. And I haven't changed any of the settings. I really don't know what's going on.
That sounds like it's a memory issue.
But anyway, so that's what I've been playing a whole bunch on the tabletop, and I'm getting ready to fire up my Strat hockey. Oh, I finished my shootout. I don't know if I talked about it. I finished my shootout project. What was it? The 84, 85, or 85, 86? I forget what.
85, 86, I think.
I redid the entire playoffs, and the Stanley Cup was the New York Rangers versus Minnesota North Stars. The Rangers, imagine that. Hartford knocked off Montreal, and then eventually I think it was the Rangers knocked off Hartford. Minnesota knocked off Edmonton. That was a big upset, and Minnesota and the Rangers went to the finals, and the Rangers took it in 6 games, I think it was. Fun time, but the fourth place Rangers come out and took that one.
But they made the playoffs by 1 point over Pittsburgh.
Yep. So they won it in my shootout replay, and I'm getting ready to set up to play 78-79 Strat. I'm going to replay the Stanley Cup Finals if Boston didn't have too many men. If Boston beat Montreal and went on to play the Rangers, that's what I'm going to play out. So I'm going to see how Boston does against New York in Strat hockey. So
a
whole bunch of things going on over here. How about you?
Let's see. Well, 2 new games. The Action PC Basketball, which I showed off, might actually start a basketball project. The animation night and day difference. It actually feels like you were watching a basketball game. They promise that all sorts of new stuff under the hood. Scenario editor. So if you just wanted to play the fourth quarter or whatever, you can. And really impressed with that. The other new game came out on PC this week. Didn't know it was coming out, from ASG Games. It's not a Richard Hanna game. It's a Bill Sohm game. It's Thoroughbred Racing.
Oh, the horse racing. Yeah. Everyone was talking about that last night.
Bought it. Comes with a few horses and I bought a data set. I got the all-time greats, which was 50 horses. But it's kind of cool. You get two versions of Secretariat, for instance. You get Secretariat as a juvenile, as a 2-year-old, and you get him as the 3-year-old monster horse, and some other horses at 2 and 3, and some fillies. And it's essentially, it would be like a token game. So you would take your little miniatures, put them there, and then roll the dice, see on the card, and then race them that way. It's a lot like if you took one of Roberto Schiavini's games, especially the Daring Racers ones, and put them on minis and put them on there. So it kind of plays like an Excel game, but you can actually see it visually play out. And for you, there is an auto move button. So you roll the die, you see how many moves you had, and then you can just hit the button for auto jockey, and the computer moves it around.
I was going to ask, how does it play? So you roll the dice and then you move the horse accordingly?
It tells you how many. You can move them manually. It tells you that, for instance, you have 10 forward moves or 5 sideward moves or jockey moves, which I'm not really quite familiar with how that works. But you can just let the computer do all that for you. You manually roll the die and then hit that, and then it just kind of runs the race for you, and then you can decide what you want to do. So the one set I bought of horses, $15 for 50 horses. It comes with races that are ready to run. You can create races. You can mix and match the databases. You can bet. So there's odds.
Can you just let it run? Can you just bet and watch the race run, or do you have to?
I think you can.
That might be kind of fun.
I will do a video on it this weekend. I'm not sure if I'll get to it today or not, but I'll do a video on it this weekend. And there's quite a few seasons. There's best of decade sets for the 30s, 40s, and 50s. There's, I believe, a few 60 seasons from 71 to 83, I think, is out, and some modern seasons as well. So eventually I'd like to do some project with all the Triple Crown winners.
Do you have, can you see the crowd all dressed up?
No. No, it's actually, it would be like, it plays like a board game, but you get a bunch of different tracks.
Oh, wow.
So it's a grid game, and so you move the horses along the grid, and so you get a drawing of Churchill Downs. You get a drawing of Saratoga. You get a drawing of Hialeah or whatever. And so, yeah, it's one of those, again, it's a card and dice game. It's for your imagination.
Right.
But no, Sharon's going to have to wear the frilly hat and give you a hard time. Why am I doing this, Gardner? Gardner, why am I doing this?
It's horse racing. We got to dress up.
That's right. Aloha, where's my cookies? So that's that. And my replays I'm doing on stream, the 2010 World Cup. Who did I play this week? It was just one game because I did something special for the anniversary of my dad's passing. Oh, Germany and Australia. That was fun. And this Sunday, coming up Sunday at noon Eastern, it's the first game of meeting between the Habs and the Bruins in my 88-89 hockey replay. It's the first time that Montreal has played Boston since you heathens beat us in the 88 Adams finals. So looking forward to that. That's been fun. I really enjoy. Again, the thing with Dave Cook's games is that the changes are subtle. And so the roster management's better. And so the last couple of games I've played on the stream, there's been no Larry Robinson, no Stefan Richer. You got to try to win those games without A, your best scorer, and B, your veteran defenseman. And so that sort of thing, like, oh, yeah, good luck. Good. Fortunately for me, it was Hartford and Quebec, but that does not do great in the YouTube impressions department. Oh, Habs, Whalers? No.
Right.
No. Why are you doing a hockey replay? No one wants to watch that, which isn't true. So that's what I've been playing.
Nice. Yeah, a lot of fun things over there. So
yeah.
All right, so we get to the topic at hand.
Let's shall.
All right. All right, so what we wanted to do today is just kind of talk about some things that we really enjoy in games. Mm-hmm. and in no particular order. We just wanted to have some fun. We chat all the time about what we're playing and this and that, and some of the things that happen. And you're having fun with this game, I'm having fun with that game, and It's like, let's talk about some of these things that we enjoy. Try to lighten the mood a little bit. First thing for me, and again,
this just in: there's been a recount in Aunt Becky's bingo tournament, and she lost the last game to old Biddy, who crocheted her husband some poison, and so Aunt Becky now has lost the Sing Sing Bingo tournament. Details, of course, coming up at 11 right here on Digital Dice.
The funniest one I saw was like the state of Georgia finds 7 more points for Atlanta in the Super Bowl against the Patriots, and they now lead 35-34. I thought that was pretty funny.
That was pretty good.
It was fitting.
Anyway, you were saying.
All right. So we'll just go. I just got a list of stuff here. We'll just kind of go off and talk about it. First thing I like in games is a lot of seasons. Yes. I really do. That is a big selling point for me, is if I get a game and it's like, oh, look at it, or at least have seasons that I want to play. Sometimes it's a game that has a lot of older seasons that I'm not interested in. Sometimes it's all current seasons I'm not interested in. So if it's got a lot of seasons to choose from and it's got a sweet spot for me,
we talked about that in the one-off thing. If you like a game engine and then you look and say, oh, I saw this YouTube video, or I was talking with you or someone else and going, oh, I could get that. Oh, I've got the 3 seasons before it and the season after, but not the one you want.
Yeah, that does stink.
Yeah, but no, that's a good point.
Okay. One of the other things I like is if especially at a PC game, I like help with the stat keeping. Okay, whether it's a PC or whether it's even a helper. If you play cards and dice and there's a helper out there that'll help you keep the stats or give you a box score, I like that. I mean, it's fun doing the cards and dice thing, but like I said, I played the 2 games last night, but then I'd have to go and do some extra work to get a box score to make standings the whole bit. So sometimes it's fun. I mean, keeping stats is fun, but sometimes I just want to play a bunch of games and leave the stat keeping to either the program or a helper or something like that.
But on the flip side of that, as a positive, there's a bunch of you out there that kept the stats as a kid. And it's one of those things that kind of brings you back to your childhood. Okay, I did a 3-game series between the Twins and the Red Sox or whatever. And so, what Kirby Puckett do? What did Jim Rice, that sort of thing. So that can be a positive as well. But no, I think one of the reasons why PC gaming like we do has been as successful is that the accounting is taken care of for you.
Yeah, and sometimes, like I say, sometimes that is fun, but I know I would rather play more games than less games and stats, because I've tried to do a playoff series one time, and I forget what engine I used, and I started to keep all the playoff stats by myself in Excel, and I got through the first couple of series of the opening round. I was like, man, I want to play the games. I really don't want to start. I mean, it'd be nice to know who the leading scorer was when the playoffs are done, but boy, I tell you, this is really
bookkeeping.
Yeah, it's bookkeeping, and at that particular point, it wasn't fun for me. Where I think it might be fun is if if I go back and if I ever play a cards and dice, I'll take one team and play their season to see what I get. See what their stats are going to be. That's when I would keep stats. I wouldn't mind keeping one team's worth of stats. But yeah, I was trying to do all. I was like, man, it's taking me 3 times as long to do the stats as it is to play a game, and I kind of bailed out on the stats and I had more fun playing the game. So if there's a way to help me keep the stats, whether it's on the PC or a helper or something, or sometimes there's a really good spreadsheet Excel file that's all set up, ready to go for you for some games that you can plug stuff in. That helps too, Also, I like, this is more of a, it's not necessarily a PC thing, but I like having a way to play games that you don't play. So in other words, you play a game and then the computer plays another game for you.
Okay.
Now, in Hockey Blast, what they do is kind of neat, is they have a quick results table. So if you just want to play, like I played a couple games last night. Well, if I don't want to play a game, let's just say I was doing the playoffs, and I don't want to play the St. Louis, Minnesota playoff series. I just don't want to play it.
It plays it for, it plays it for you.
There's a chart you can do. In fact, I did this one time. I played out the entire playoffs rolling dice on this chart, and it just says, okay, so if it's St. Louis at Minnesota, you roll whatever dice they ask you to roll, and it's like this result is a St. Louis win, and this result is a Minnesota win. And then if it's Minnesota at St. Louis, it's a different set of numbers.
Right.
And so they have a table. It's a quick results table. So I like to have a way of playing the games that I don't play, so I can get results from them. And again, the computer does that kind of usually automatically, but some of the games have a way of getting results fairly quick like that.
It's the genius of being able to do the replays that I do on stream, is that you don't have to play them and you get them, and baseball certainly tells a very different story and you have to adapt.
Yeah.
Or, for anyone that wants to do a single team replay, and then you can fit. I mean, in hockey, unless you're playing a team that barely made the playoffs in the 80s, which were few and far between, But no, I mean, it's important to see scoring leaders and all that, because I think it adds to the immersion, and what the stakes are for the game that you're about to play.
Yeah, and even as a bonus, and there's a couple of games actually a lot of games that do this, is when the computer plays out a game, simulates a game without you, that have the option to go back in and look at the box score.
Yes.
That is cool, because sometimes you'll look at what happened that day, whether it's a football game that I've been playing or a hockey game, and it's like, wow, look at this score. Let me go in and see what the heck happened, and that's kind of fun too, as you can kind of get the next day news report,
Showed that off on my last stream, because the last game I did with the Habs and Whalers happened to be the same night that Gretzky returned to Edmonton for the first time.
Yep.
And so was able to show the box of how one of the players that Edmonton traded for beat the Kings in that. And so that's very cool. And it's always amazing that the computer can play the game in 2/3 of a second.
Yeah,
takes us 45 minutes. And
and some of these games spit out ridiculous box scores and play by play for the whole game. As how does it do that in a few seconds? It's really amazing. Yep. Another thing I like a lot of options, and I like the option to either play as one team or play as both teams, and in some games, depending on the game, play as just the offense or the defense.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of fun. So whereas, like I said about Says It All, it's like I like options like that, where sometimes you want to play one team against the computer. So it's you against the computer, no matter what. The computer's making all the decisions for that team, and you're making all the decisions for this team. And other times you want to play it kind of neutral down the line and play as both teams a little bit, whether you play the off. So I like to have that options there too.
Yep, I agree with that.
And the piggyback off of that, I have the single player mode, because I don't hardly ever play against anybody. So there's some games that are designed to be a head-to-head game, and it doesn't work playing by yourself.
Nope.
So
some games are better with others.
So for me, and that goes to my video games too, is that I need a single player mode, because I don't play against other people or with other people. Usually it's just me alone. So it's important to have any of the games I play a strong way to play solo play, single player mode. I also like a lot of color in my games, whether it's cards and dice or whether it's computer.
I'll call Tim McCarver if you want a lot of color. No, that's not what you mean?
No, I mean, I like, some of the updates of some of the games I play, they've added color scoreboards, so the team's colors are in the scoreboard, and I like that, because it just, instead of generic black on white, if you can see color in there, it really brightens it up. And even cards and dice, there's a couple of games, even some of the quick play games I got, they give you a nice color printout of the team or the players or something, and just having that splash of color, it's really kind of brightens things up, and it's not so much it doesn't feel like a stat game. It's just kind of black and white number crunching. It feels like...
Yeah, I get it. And, I'm not always into big... I'll put logos in there, but the color thing doesn't there. But when I play a certain baseball game out of Glen Head, Long Island, being able to play at the correct stadium kind of does that for me. It's not necessarily the logos or the player pictures, because I don't have it set up for that. But knowing that if I'm playing the Astros, I'm playing with a color picture of the Astrodome right there, that builds into the immersion. You're looking at your clock to see what I'm saying.
No, it keeps beeping on me. I get people canceling on hockey for me, and so it's like, oh man. So, yeah. In fact, I take it so far as when I can, if I'm playing a game that doesn't require certain color dice, or even when it does, I have all these different colors, and I take it out and I try to go for the team. The team
yes,
colors.
I know you've got the creamsicle colored dice for the Bucks.
Yeah, I mean, I get orange, I get teal, I get green, I get practically every color covered, purple. So if I'm playing a game and I have the chance to use a light and a dark die per se, instead of just black and white or red and white, I might go purple and white, or if I have any head-to-head rolls that I use for whatever situation, I sometimes will, if Minnesota will be green in hockey and Montreal will be red, and that's how I roll the dice, and that adds to it too, and that's my own flavor into it, just adding the color.
In a previous life, Dave designed sets for early color television.
I know I did. Another big thing is important. Did we talk about game flow?
No, I'm just letting you go with your list. I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, for me, the game needs to flow, and if I got to keep stopping to look something up or figure something up or go online and look it up or go back into the directions, and I get when you're starting off with a game, you do that all the time. But after a certain while, it's like, man, I just want to play this game, and I want to keep stopping. And last night when I played the game, and I know I wasn't going to mention specific games, but because I was playing Hockey Blast and I talked about what I was playing, when that game flows,
you like it.
I love that game when it flows. And last night I played 2 games and both flowed, and I was slow because I hadn't played in a long time, and I was stopping to look things up, but I was getting into a flow, and the game flowed, and I was getting a feel for it. And a lot of games do that. The more you play, the better they feel. But there still are some games out there that just they don't quite flow, and it's just.
When you sit there and have that time for gaming, yes, you want the time to be for gaming.
You want to enjoy the game. You don't want to be sitting there figuring, okay, I rolled this. Oh, boy, what is that? Now I got to look it up, figure it out, and use my, And so last night, that game flowed for me. And I've had trouble with that game in the past, but when that flows, it's fun. So, yeah, it's important for games to flow. I don't want to have to keep stopping and looking things up. So flow is a big thing for me. Pick up and play. I like small learning curves. Okay, that's my personality.
And you cannot lie. Yes.
No, and I've been that my whole way. It's just I either pick it up quickly or I don't. It either clicks or it doesn't. It's very rarely. Like back in school, I never studied for a test. Okay, as weird as that sounds, because I either got what you were selling me, or I was never going to get it. And I've actually dropped out of classes because I'm like, I don't get it. I'm not going to get it. And you can call me the biggest dummy in the world. I was an A student, but in this class, I'm not getting what you're selling. Everybody else is. However you worded it, I was not getting it, and I had to drop out and go to another class. But other classes, I never had to study. I never had to do any homework because you taught it to me. I got it. It's in the bag. I take my test. I get my 95, and we go on with life. And that's how I am with games.
It dovetails into your last point, too. You want your gaming time to be for gaming and not figuring.
Yeah, and I understand that you have to learn how to play games, and some games are a little more difficult, and some games are deeper than other games in a whole bit. But for me, there's been games that I looked up, and it's like I easily picked, like, okay, here it is. I read the instructions once, and I'm good to go. There are other games I read the instructions, had a pretty good idea, referenced the instructions a few times, and I was off and running. And there's other games where I read the instructions, and I was lost. And I tried to play it, and I was further lost. People tried to explain it to me, and I even got more lost. And it's like, this is not clicking.
You don't get it,
yeah. I just don't get it. Like I told the teacher, I put up my hand. I don't get it. And he's like, all right, then you need to go. So that's what I do with these games.
You can only bash your head against a wall.
Yeah, it's just at that point there, it's like I just don't get what you're telling me. Either I'm reading the instructions wrong. Sometimes I read too much into the instructions, which is a flaw in me. I get that. It's just how you wrote the instructions or how the game is set up. I'm not following either that, or I'm following it and I'm just not having fun. But in any case, it's frustrating, and I tend to walk away from a game that frustrates me, no matter how wonderful people say it is. And I've gone back several times to a couple of games, and very few.
Sometimes it's just not going to be your cup of tea.
It's just not what I want out of a game. So for me, in general, if it's a pick up and play, small learning curve, those games I tend to stick with more, And also piggybacking off of that is good instructions. You need to have good instructions. You can't have instructions
do an entire show on that.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a few games I've picked up in the past that you read the instructions and then you get to a point and you read another part of the instructions and they conflict. Yep. And it's like, is this a completed pass or not? Is this, what is the deal?
You've watched NFL football the last 10 years,
Yeah, it's like
landed in Cleveland, but his arm is in Akron. Is it?
But it's just you read something and you think that this is how it's supposed to go. And then you read something later. It's like, well, now after reading this, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do here, and then you get stuck. So good instructions, trying to cover as many scenarios as possible, is the way to go. Wrapping up my list of things that I really like in games. I like simple gameplay. Okay, I don't need to be going crazy with numbers and charts and looking up. And, for me, just me being a kind of a casual player, I don't need the statistical accuracy if it's going to come at the cost of a very, very difficult game to play.
That's a huge balance, yeah.
And so for me, there's games I play that we've talked about. It's like, well, that really is not quite that accurate, but I had a heck of a lot of fun. And there's other games that I could play that I would get really good accuracy on, but is the fun factor there to get to that
reading
point?
Pro Football Reference is more fun, yes.
Exactly. So for me, I like a nice, simple gameplay. I mean, doesn't have to be, really, that basic of a game, but the more I call it cute. The more cute you get, and when you look at a card and it looks like it's Japanese instructions, and you're just like, oh my gosh, how am I going to learn this? And then you get this, and this number changes to that number, and it's not really this, it's that, and it's just
again, it goes back to, for you. It goes back to flow.
Yeah,
your gaming time should be gaming time and not
time. Yeah, so I find that the games I play that I enjoy are somewhere between a quick play and a long play game, and I can get them to flow. I really can. And then rounding out my list of things that I really like in games, I like basic and advanced mode options. Okay, yes. I really do, and that goes for every game I play. I like games that sometimes I could just kick back and put on basic and just put on like one of you guys streaming YouTube, or sometimes I'll listen to sports radio or some music, and I can just put on basic mode and just click away here on the computer, or cards and dice, just something fairly simple where there's not a lot of thinking, but I can see the game, and as you say, the storyline. There's a storyline in the game that can happen even in a basic mode, and
especially in the basic mode.
Yeah, because there's not a lot of tough decisions to make. There's not a lot of things getting in your way. It's just a nice, simple sports gaming experience, and I really like it. And that even goes to some of my video games. There's some video games that I play and I have fun, and then they start getting into, okay, well, now you got to jump and spin and turn before you shoot the arrow or something, and it's like, I'll never get all that. And if you don't use that, you can't win the game. You can't play basic mode in some of these video games. And I was like, well, I guess I'm not playing this game because I don't plan on doing that. And that's why I stopped playing games like Madden and all the hockey and baseball and basketball games on PlayStation and Xbox. I can't play them anymore. It's not a simple pitch and hit or pass and shoot. It's 19 different buttons you got to hit. I'm looking at my fingers on the controller, making sure I'm hitting the right buttons, and I can't do that. It's not. I'm not having any fun with that. So I like games that have basic mode, so I can just kick back and relax. But the option for an advanced mode, okay, in a lot of these games, if I want to play and have more depth in this game, then I like having both of those options there. And in every game I'm playing right now, for the most part, I have a way I can play very easy and basic if I'm in a casual mood, or if I really want to get into it, I'm going to play a little bit deeper in this one. So I'm going to play the advanced. I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to turn that on. I'm going to make this decision, and so depending what I'm in the mood for, late at night when I'm tired, I play everything on basic, whatever mode. Just want to play and have some fun. During the day, if I'm a little more awake, or maybe it's on the weekend, then I tend to play in something that requires a lot more thinking, is what I'm getting at. Yep. So,
okay. So for me, we've talked about storyline a million times, but I think interaction is a big one. Does the game give you the same feedback that you would if you were watching the game on television? Do you feel, one of the great things about gaming is that, yes, you do feel part of the action. Your emotions get to you. If your team wins, that's great. If not, you feel that disappointment. For me, that's a big one. It's not just the field test, but when the virtual Boston Bruins take the ice, do you get upset when they lose? Do you get that same feeling?
Oh yeah,
that's a big one. And
I couldn't kill a penalty the other night, and I'm screaming at the computer, going, "Holy cow! I can't kill a penalty! Every time I get a penalty, they score." It was frustrating, and I was like,
but that's part of the positivity of the game is it just gives you that same experience. Oh, look, the Red Sox left 17 runners on again. Gosh, how fun is this? But again, it is. When you learn things about teams that you wouldn't necessarily know, or when you have those kind of hidden moments where the 24th or 25th player on the roster does things. I'm going to get yelled at for this, but the Mario Mendoza homer I had this summer, who's not supposed to be, there was a chance. It was on the screen, 1% chance, and boom, there I went. When I was in college in a league, Andy Van Slyke, outfielder for both the Pirates and the Cardinals. I think he was with the Pirates at this point. And whether he knows it or not, we gave him the nickname Thumper because I was in a face-to-face league, and he tied the game in the 8th inning, and he won the game in the 11th. And just one of those things that, like, wow, it's just some, okay, I won't say that Andy Van Slyke was not the proverbial household name in his own house, but not the Hall of Fame player that everybody knows. Gary Serum, I had that in my baseball replay this year. Not someone you would know, but his continued success got his starts featured on my replay.
But that's what makes it fun, like you said, is when someone comes out of nowhere, because that does make it feel like you're either at the park or you're watching it on TV. That's really big, and that's really fun. Because remember watching the Red Sox back in 2004, and we'd be talking about the series and how platinum was like, man, this Bellhorn guy, he's terrible. He can't hit the ball. He's 0 for 57 in the series, and then he homers in Yankee Stadium at the key moment of one of the key games.
Game 6, yeah.
And it's like all of our jaws dropped. It's like, holy cow, here's a guy that's done nothing, and we're dumping on him, and why is he in the game? And he homers. And so so that stuff can happen. When I played the other night, PC hockey, I scored with 5 seconds left in overtime. I've never done that. I might have talked about that already on the show, but it was a guy by the name of Jeff Lazaro for the Bruins. I think he played one season with the Bruins. I barely remembered the guy, and he's the guy that scored the goal in overtime. It wasn't Cam Neely. It wasn't Ray Bork. It was some guy that holy cow. I vaguely remember this guy, and it does. That's what makes it fun, because it feels like, holy cow, this guy just took a pass and scored. Wow, what are the chances,
Yeah, in watching people understand for the first time why these games are special. Guy Lafleur, for you in your first full game of Strat, having the chance to, win the game?
Sakic had a breakaway for Quebec. He was stopped. There were no cards left to flip, okay? But Quebec wins the face-off, and play continues because you have to play until you go to flip a card. And Guy Lafleur gets it. He rolls the dice. It's a goalie. It was either goalie rating or goalie card rating. I think it was like 1 to 14. A goal, 1 to 14. I think he rolled a 2. 1 to 14, Guy Lafleur scores to tie the game with no time left, basically. And I roll a 16. After Sakic gets denied on a breakaway, kind of in bonus time, LaFleur has a chance. 1-14, and I roll a 16. And that was my very first strat game ever. Yes, that was amazing. It was like you were there.
I mean, just when you're with that moment with a game that you're blown away, and because let's face it, everybody has opinions about every game, and so but yeah, when the moment that a game clicks for you.
But when you have a moment like that, that's almost like if you try a restaurant for the first time and you have an unbelievable experience. You're always going to remember that place as a good restaurant. Even if you go in there 10 more times and it's just okay.
Mediocre the next 3, yeah.
Yeah, unless you have a real bad experience. But, I mean, if you start off on fire, that's kind of how it's always going to remain in your mind. And there's games that I've played that started off, like I say, with all kinds of frustrations. And to me, they'll forever just be a very frustrating game for me, and I will avoid them.
Yeah. Let's see, because you hit a lot of the good ones. And you did your homework for this.
I made notes on my Apple Watch last night. Every time I thought of something, I was like, hey, write this down.
Yeah, first world problems. I did this on my Apple Watch.
But that's the way I take my notes on this thing.
That's great. I'm trying to think what else. Again, storylines being the big thing. But the game's making sense. The satisfaction of completing a project. You did it. You set the time out, whether it was a year or 10 years or whatever, but you started this. You felt strong enough about it to keep plodding through, and, oh, good. How many times can I eat scrambled eggs and toast? There's only so many ways to do that. And then you got it done, and you look back and say, yeah, I did that. That's a positive. Or, yeah, I tried out that game. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it. And, it might be mediocre. You might love it. But yeah, the satisfaction. I remember you finishing your first big projects. First of all, there's a sense of relief that it's done.
Yeah.
And second, oh wow, I did this.
Yep. And speaking about finishing products, sometimes I don't know if you've done this. If you've played a game late before you go to bed, and it was a phenomenal game, you go to bed, and it's all you can think about.
Yeah,
is that game. It's almost like if you watched on TV, oh, wow, what a comeback that was. Oh, man, they hung on for the win. And you go into bed and you're like replaying the game in your head that you just watched. Well, I do that with some of the games I played here. Like last night when I played the Seals and the Rangers. I'm in bed and I'm thinking, wow, there's Rattel. Goaltender pulled, chance to tie the game, and there's Milosh robbing him. I rolled a 2 and I needed 1 or 2, and I robbed Rattel in the slot to save the game for the Seals. And I went to bed. I was like, that was fun. And again, I didn't care who won. I liked the Rangers and the Seals,
Right.
So if they tied it, great. If they didn't, great. But so it's just, completing a project is satisfaction, but sometimes completing a game that was so good and you go to bed and you're like, oh man, you go to get bed on a high note. Cause I was like, that was great. And I've had some games that were terrible. And it's like, it's midnight. It's like, I can't go to bed like this. I got to play another one, or at least start another game, because this is a really sour way to go to bed. Is that with this kind of a finish, So, but yeah.
So I think that's be curious to see what other people think are the positives, but those are the big ones for me.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like I say, the idea is to have fun, and I think that's why we play so many different games, is because all the things we talked about today are not in one game.
No, they're pretty universal.
Yeah. So there's some games I play for this reason, and there's some games I play for this reason, and some games I play for this reason, And there's some games I play that don't have the seasons I like, but I still play them for other reasons. And there's other games that do have seasons I like, but I play these for other reasons too. And I like to have a good mix of what I'm doing. I play some one-offs, usually one-offs on the tabletop, because again, this whole stat keeping thing for me can be a chore. The bookkeeping and accounting. Some people love that. For me, that it just gets to be a little tedious for me, and I'd rather play. I get itching to play a game, And there's no storylines when you're compiling stats. The storylines are in the game, which is what I really like.
Right. And that's the thing. It
so-
doesn't have to be a continuous one,
Yeah.
but like, oh, wow, Jordan scored 70.
Yeah, but I'll go up on the tabletop and I'll play for an hour or two up there after the wife goes to bed, and I'll have some fun. Then I'll come downstairs and I'll unwind with a cup of Ovaltine, and I'll kick my feet up and play on the computer. And I can just play something in basic mode. It keeps all the stats for me. I don't have to really think too hard about it. And then if the game ain't going well, I have the option of just skipping ahead and letting the computer finish the game. And every now and then I'll do that because it's like, all right, this is just not fun. I got to skip ahead, blah, blah, blah. But so I think I play different games because I get all of those things I enjoy out of all these games I play.
Yes.
It's under one umbrella, and it's like the restaurant thing. Sometimes you want pizza, so you go here. Sometimes you want seafood, so you go here. Sometimes you want a burger, so you go here. And
but you tend to go to places that bring you pleasure.
Yeah, we tend to mostly always play our certain amount of games, but like I said, you got this horse racing coming up. You don't know, that might be your go-to game for a little while. You might have so much fun with that.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah. And there's a few games I picked up out of the blue. I was like, that's fun. I'm having a good time with that. And so this is my go-to game for a bit. And I think we all go through phases like that. But,
sure.
Yes. So anyway, so we told you some of the things that we really enjoy as we try to keep the show positive here this week. What are some of the things that you guys enjoy about games? And we don't need to know what game it is. That's not important. But what are some of the things you enjoy? Is there something that we might have missed? Is there something that you guys might say, hey, excuse me, I really like this in a game, and I get my enjoyment from this, or when I do this is really fun for me, or why I play certain games is because of X.
Right.
So we're interested to see how y'all is compared to ours. I imagine there's a lot of similarities because I think we hit on a lot of the high notes here as far as why we play the games and things that we really enjoy about the games. Maybe at some point we could do a show about the things we don't like in games, but I mean, right now is not the time for that. So
Valentine's Day,
yeah, that's a fun one. So, but I thought we'd have some fun today and talk about the enjoyment we get out of the games and what we enjoy playing. So that's what we talked about today on episode 62.
Hey, if you're an NFL lineman, it's your show.
So by the numbers, episode 62 of the Digital to Dice podcast. Ways to get a hold of us, digitaltodice.com is our website where we park all the shows over on Spreaker. 978-751-DICE, 978-751-3423 if you want to send us a text. And our Facebook group is growing. We're almost up to 500 members. I can't believe it.
It's going to be 500, right?
Yeah, we're 3 or 4 or 5 away from 500 members. Facebook.com/group/digital to dice. Come join the discussion. We're always posting about our projects, or we talk about the show, or whatever kind of good things go there. But a good group of people. And what's fun about that is when someone posts a new game, everybody jumps all over. It's like, what is that game? I got to go try this out. And last night it was the horse race, and there was a lot of people talking to horse race, and so now and there's a free demo for that, so I got to go check that out myself. So join us over there on Facebook. So anyway,
the demo, by the way, is unlimited.
Oh, good.
So you can play that set of horses is to your heart's desire.
Yeah, I think I'll have to go check that out. So anyway, all right. So I'm Dave.
I'm Ron.
Thanks everybody for listening. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.